The muddy county roads might be the problem rather than the snow on top. Some of them get pretty
Yeah, I think
squishy.
it was more of a slushy mix.
And heavy to try to plow.
Yeah, and I don't think that I don't know what they're doing, but I don't think I think they were, like Ron said, it was going to get to be 52 today, so let it melt. But how it melts is going to be the real question.
Right.
But the good news is we have. Go ahead, Ron.
I was just say that one thing I dislike about the owls, when I look at the TV to watch you guys, I'm yeah, just disrespecting the owl by staring away.
Oh. I try to sit, if I'm not talking in our board meetings, I try to sit very still so that it can go to other people.
That's
Yeah.
a good call.
Looks like Aaron's joining.
Hello.
No.
Hello, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
I'm watching the clock. We'll start shortly. Okay, I see that it's 12 noon. I will call, we have two meetings today. First, we'll have the public hearing, and then we'll have the special school board meeting. So first, I'm calling the public hearing to order. Please note that we have Director Fadness in person, and the rest of us are remote. Director Sand and Xander and Tim Cronin and myself are joining virtually. First, I'll ask, are there any comments, oral or written, concerning the middle school roof project?
No, we didn't receive any.
Okay, with no comments submitted, I will
And
adjourn.
there's no one unusual here, so.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. And no
Well,
action
that
needs
might-
to be taken before we adjourn, is that correct?
You can't do any action.
Nope.
Correct, no action.
Okay, so I will adjourn the public hearing. Next, I will call to order the special school board meeting. And as previously mentioned, Director Fadness is in person. Myself, Director Sand and Xander are joining virtually, and Dr. Tim Cronin is also joining virtually. Do I have a volunteer to read the mission and vision statements?
I can do that.
Oh, go ahead, Karen.
At Decorah Community School District, we embrace student learning and well-being as our fundamental purpose. We will, in partnership with our students, families, and community, make the world a better place. The mission of the Decorah Community School District is learning, thriving, creating our legacy. The vision of the Decorah Community School District is Decorah Community School District will be a collaborative, innovative, learning-centered organization empowering students to embrace their personal strengths and create their future.
Thank you. So the only thing on the agenda for this special meeting is to approve the middle school roof replacement drawings and specs, which were provided to us. And this, of course, is a very important project, as we've had trouble with the middle school roof for many years. And Dr. Cronin, I'll let you give us kind of a little bit of a brief background about this project, just as a refresher before we open it up to discussion.
Absolutely, thanks. When the building was built, I guess it was about 16 years ago, we put on a roof that was called Armor Light, and that is spelled R hyphen MER space LITE. It's a white roof, and it's a very thin metal. It feels like you're walking on top of like a pop can that's been flattened out. It's not been a very good performing roof. In fact, probably since very shortly after we installed it, we had problems. The boards worked on it. We invested, I think, an $80,000 that we thought was a one-time patch, and we were just told recently that roof really requires like 5-year maintenance. So it's not a roof we want to try to fix. We want to replace the whole thing. We want to go to an EDPM, or like the more standard black tar roof that you see. And so to do that, and I've asked them to bid it in sections, but my goal is we're assuming that it's going to be most cost effective to do it all at one time, but we can review those bids when they come in. The drawings that are enclosed in the document, when we've gone around on the roofs, they've kind of highlighted a couple of tuck points, and the roof isn't just one big space. It's got little nooks and crannies. So there's a little space, maybe it's over by the library, that kind of juts out. And they had to be a little bit more specific about how they're going to replace that and how they're going to manage that problem so that it doesn't leak. I think the big thing is the EDPM roof will come with a minimum of a 20-year guarantee, and it's a very standard roof. So when we're faced with this in 20 years, the district can look at replacing it in sections instead of the whole thing at a time. There's been some good news. He's writing it so that we reuse some of the underdecking, and so that can save us some money as well. The last number that he gave Greg and I, and by he, I'm saying Mike Mullenhauer, the last number Mike gave us was about $1.1 million to do this project. So it won't be cheap. I know when we first started talking, we were hoping it would be an $800,000 project, but I always think of those numbers and then add inflation for schools. Cindy kind of asked me where the funds for this will come from. We'll use PEPAL and SAVE funds for this. If we have the ability to pass a resolution that we could also borrow, take a loan out against this after the fact, if we so desire, if we're short on PEPAL and SAVE. So we can talk about that later on as we get into the project, but we'll know what the bids are. So the timeline is set up on the big document. If you look at, I think it's page 9, it just kind of talks about what the timeline is. And so this is, well, maybe I had it queued up. There's a timeline in the document that talks about, oh yeah, it looks like it's page 9. So we're going to call for bids to be due on this project on April 23rd at 10 a.m. There's a pre-bid meeting April 11th, and work backwards from that, where they're working with contractors. So that's where you can see that the engineer's cost estimate for this project is 1.5 million. So maybe when he spoke to me the other day, he had a little bit lower estimate. So we'll open the bids. So we'll have a bid. Bids will be due on the 23rd. We'll open them at the central office, and that I think is 2 days or 3 days before the board meeting. So then we'll have a recommendation for the April board meeting on, we're going to have a special meeting on that Monday, I believe, to review these bids. So, but I guess the highlights are we're getting rid of the roof that leaks, and we're replacing it with a standard EDPM roof.
Also, with this April timeline of accepting bids and awarding a contract, this will allow us to complete the majority of the construction, like starting immediately after school dismisses in May, which is important to get this project done this summer. So, you know, looking at a school bond going to vote in November, one of my questions was, you know, what fund are we going to pay this out of? And as Tim mentioned, it will be paid through the PEPAL SAVE fund. So this will not affect our bond debt capacity. I think that's important to talk about. And then, of course, another thing that I was looking for as I was reviewing the document was, is there any type of guarantee? So it's nice to know that things are covered for 20 years. But were there any other questions or topics that other board members wanted to discuss together?
My only comment would be to once again express frustration with the product that we got 16 years ago. There's been nothing but trouble since day one practically. So I guess I've been here 14 of those 16 years, and it was an issue my first year on the board. So it's important that we finally just bite the bullet and quit throwing, Band-Aids at this project and get it done right once and for all.
Mhm.
And to that point, just to reiterate what I've already said is, this is a more standard roof that we're putting on. So, among other things, repairs and tweaks are easier to do. We're not gonna be guessing at that because this is gonna be like all the other roofs that we have. And you probably may not see too many more roof bids come to the board. I mean, we'll tell you about them, but in general, if we can keep them under the threshold, we don't have to hire the engineer and we just do little sections at a time. That's how most districts do it. Now, I can't say that we'll never do that, but having a roof like this allows us to replace just portions that as they need to instead of all at once. Typically, schools don't do big roof projects unless there's a need, and we clearly have a need.
Any other questions from board directors? Or comments?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the specifications as presented.
I'll second.
I'm hearing a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now call the special meeting adjourned. Thank you all for